Hey everybody, it's a pleasure to be with you. It's going to be fun. To get started, do what I always do. You need a partner, because the reality of caring for someone who lives with dementia is they can't do it alone. And so they need someone. And so go ahead right now in your seats out there and find yourself a partner and move next to them. You don't have to keep them for long. It's only 18 minutes. This is not a lifetime commitment. You're not going to have to stay a long time with them. So if you don't like them, just trade seats later. And now look at the person next to you and realize if this were real, one of you has dementia. Now here's the bad news. Put up both hands, if you would. Everybody put up both hands, and here's what I'm going to tell you. If one of you has dementia, put one hand in your lap. Half of you, 50% of you out there who have dementia, close your hand into a fist, will have absolutely no awareness that you have dementia. You will think you're fine. You still have all the skills, the abilities, the talents you've always had. People are trying, the situation is trying to force you into this is not all right. So turn to the person next to you who's decided they want to help and take your fist and say, who do you think you are? This is ridiculous. I don't want this. Wait a minute. No. Now, take your fist again. Everyone, take your fist this time. And what I want you to do is tap your forehead. Because what I want you to realize is when we talk about dementia, all too often we talk about it in two ways. Number one, it's memory problems. We make it simple. We make it stupidly simple, and it's not true. Or it's devastating. It's horrible. It will rob the person of everything. They will become nothing like who they were. And what I've got to tell you is life living with dementia is somewhere in between these two things. And reality is, for half of everyone who gets this condition, tap the front of your head again. One of the parts of their brain that starts to be changed by the disease very early on is the frontal prefrontal cortex. And what that means is that they lose skills in those areas, skills that we take for granted. This is the last part of your brain to develop, but it is a critical part for making you the person that everybody knows. It makes me who I am, and who you see me as, at least. So take your hand, and I'm going to tell you that, do this with your hand. You don't just have 5 skills in there that really matter, you have 6. And one of them that's showing up for this 50%, take your hand and do this. Look at your hand. You're seeing yourself. You are self-aware. You know what you can do and what you can't do. You have a very good sense of yourself. You're very accurate in your abilities assessment. Look at the situation out there. Look at your abilities. Yes, I know whether I need help or not, and I'm accurate. But for 50% of people living with dementia, one of the early changes is, do this, they lose self-awareness. So they are not accurate in their perception. So I would no longer be accurate in my ability to know what I know, do what I do, and yet I think I'm still. So turn to the person next to you and tell me a primary emotion this person is going to exhibit. They're going to get angry. They're going to get frustrated. With whom? You, the helper. So helper, the other person in the partnership, take your index finger out. You, do this, you notice all the changes that they are showing. I mean, it is obvious to you. You have do this, your frontal lobe is picking up on all these things. So take your index finger and poke it at the person who's doing this. Now, how many of you anticipate a good outcome? And yet what I'm going to tell you all too often, this is the kind of behavior we tend to exhibit, whether we're talking about a person who's living with dementia, where the dementia is inside the person, or whether we're talking about a direct caregiver who's trying their very best to help someone, but doesn't know what they don't know about this thing called dementia. And so they keep trying to point out the errors of the other individual's behavior, and all it's doing is making things worse. And so this is the caregiver who doesn't know, is not self-aware, doesn't have that skill. So put your hand up again, because now you're a caregiver, you're a family member, you're a nurse on a unit, you're a healthcare provider. Do this. This is the expert. come in and point out the errors of their ways. I've told them and told them. How many times do I have to say this? This is ridiculous. I am not going to tell her again. Uh-oh, we're doing it again. And so 50% of the time what we have are situations where we're not helping because you know what? We're making it worse. And the way I got to this place of understanding is I did a lot of that. Because one thing that I was missing, and I found out, is that there's a big difference between, put your hands right here, knowing something different and doing something different. Those are different neuronic connections. Those are different ways that your brain does stuff. Your brain up here does not cause things to happen out here without some changes. And those are very different changes than hearing information and taking it into your brain to actually do something different, say something different. That's going to take a lot of hard work. And we've got to change. So those of us who've been doing this, turn to the partner next to you and do this. This is what I've told them and told them. How many times? We've been over this. They know what they're supposed to do. We've written this up. There's a procedure for this. Take this index finger and realize, look like this. How self-aware are you? Look in the mirror. Look at your skills and your abilities and look at what's being asked of you and realize I have some missing pieces here. I need to learn some things I don't know. I need to quit trying to make this person understand and instead take a look at myself and figure out what do I need to find out? What do I need to figure out? And frequently, what we need to figure out is how to help people change their behavior. And it literally means we're going to help people grow new synaptic connections and then use those synaptic connections until they become the automatic way that the brain actually does what it does. We're going to change habits and behaviors. And to do that, it's going to take more than a lecture. It's actually going to take some behavior change on our part. So what I want you to do with your partner is to take a look at them, and if this person is doing this, I want you to look at them and say, you don't like this, do you? Try that, see what happens. Because what they're going to say is, no, I don't. And here's what you're going to say next. Here's your new skill. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Tell me. Tell me what it is that is making you angry and frustrated. Because until I see your point of view, I'm going to really struggle. And the skill that I need to develop is that sixth skill in the brain, in the frontal, prefrontal. Take your hand right here and bring it out. What we need to realize is everyone has a point of view. Everyone has a point of view, a belief set, where they're seeing things from. But what the most mature skill in your frontal prefrontal cortex is, do this, letting go of your point of view and seeing the other person's point of view. And once you see their point of view and you understand why they think what they think, why they're doing what they're doing, suddenly then, I have new possibilities because once I see where they're coming from, I can choose how I do what I do a little differently. But I can only do that when I let go of my point of view and I get curious about yours. Now, I hope you're curious about something else. I hope you're curious about the other skills in the frontal prefrontal cortex. As well you should be, because it's a very vulnerable part of the brain. People who have head injuries, and I worked 3 years in head injury, acute traumatic head injury, people who are still on ventilators, people who are re-entering the community. I worked in tertiary medical centers, I taught at medical schools, I've done all that kind of stuff, but I'm here to tell you, people are people first, and they have dementia second. But in our society, once you're labeled as having dementia, you're very likely to be called a demented person. You're likely to be called someone who's demented, someone who's got Alzheimer's. We keep confusing the two, by the way. We really need to clean that language up. And the new language is actually neurocognitive degeneration. But we struggle because people don't know those words and they don't know quite what they mean and they still think they mean memory problems, where it destroys everything. And we need to change that language. We need to really take that language under our wing and go, wait a minute, it's a person living with dementia. It is not a demented person. They're still a person first and they have dementia second. And that goes for those of us who choose to provide care and support as well. We're often seen as not as exciting or interesting. This is not the sexy stuff to get into. This is not the exciting things. This is called chronic care. It's not as good as rehab. I've been doing OT a long time, and people say, well, when are you going to get back to doing OT? And it's like, what do you think I do every day? And they go, well, but it's not covered by Medicare. Well, it's time for Medicare to catch up with the reality of what's happening in this world, in this nation. I mean, it is time for us to catch up and quit feeding the horse and start going, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. Time out. This is the tsunami of the 21st century, folks. Dementia will well overwhelm us if we do not figure out how to provide the support and care that people living with this condition and their care partners need. And I'm here to tell you this is also a civil rights issue, because it is the only condition. Turn to your partner. Do this. When the person doesn't have the ability to recognize their loss, and the loss gets significant, we can lock them up and throw away the key, based on a black and white concept called incapacity. But I'm here to say there is no such thing as absolute incapacity. Incapacity should be shades of gray. Turn to the person next to you. Do you know whether you should drive or not? Do you know whether you should eat a meal or not? Do you know whether or not you like this person across from you or not? Those are all very different questions. And yet when you suffer from incapacity, and you're deemed by the state to be incapacitated, what ends up happening is we take away all your rights to choose. And yet, you still know lots of things. Unfortunately, even if I did a healthcare proxy, I did that before I actually got to the point in the disease where the decisions are being made for me. And maybe I said back then that I would not really want to eat eggs because I've never liked eggs. I've always hated eggs. I was actually allergic to eggs when I was a child, and my mother didn't believe that. Being the woman that she was, she wanted to test it. And I ended up in the emergency room, even though she put it in custard and she thought she could trick me. And that's when she found out I actually was allergic to eggs. And she finally gave up for a couple years, and then she tried it again because she really wasn't sure. So what I would say is that at this point in time, if you were to ask me, here's the deal, I don't want breakfast and I don't want eggs. Even though I'm no longer allergic to eggs, I've gotten over that. But when I get advanced dementia, who's to say what in the morning smells good to me and what I want? And I run across and I start eating them. And then everybody panics and says, no, she's not allowed to have eggs. But if in that moment I'm enjoying eggs, does that mean I don't get them? Because on my sheet of paper it says, do not provide eggs. And we're not talking about eating eggs frequently. We're talking about things like life-sustaining treatment. And people tend to think of the big stuff, but not the little stuff. And they tend to think about the things they think are going to happen, not the realities of what are going to happen. So we need to take a step back and realize this is a civil rights issue. And until we start seeing it, its complexity, we miss the opportunity that we have to start raising people's awareness before we get to a crisis moment, because we'll get there. But it's not just the people living with dementia, it's those providing care. They're seen as less educated, less socioeconomically allowed to do things. They are in the positions they are in because they don't have the skills, and family members are overwhelmed already, so they don't have the skills. And so who will speak? Who will speak up and who will speak out? And who will raise issues that need to be raised before we get to the overwhelming tsunami point? Because we're getting there, and we're getting there fast. The boomers are coming. We're part of them. So let's go back to where we started, because it is a civil rights issue, but I told you I wanted you to work on skills, because the only way to change things is to understand what is to be changed. So take your hands and take them to your head and look at the situation, and I want you to go, oh, oh, uh-oh. So say that, oh, oh, uh-oh. That's where you have a new awareness of a situation. So suddenly something that someone tells you, something that you learn, changes things for you. So take a look at your hand, and what I'm going to tell you is a human hand is an amazing thing. It really does these amazing things for you. Make two fists, and imagine how you would drink. How would you get dressed? How would you take notes? How would you use your cell phone? How would you drive a car? These are amazing. But they only work because this does its job. And when you get dementia, it's not just your prefrontal cortex that changes. This disease spreads through your brain, and it will rob you of your ability to take in data and to use these things effectively. And so therefore, someone around you will take over and do it for you. You better hope they know how to use their hands well. But to know, you have to understand. And so first there's the, oh, but then comes, do this. Do this with your hands. Don't just sit there. Aha! I'm getting it in here. I'm starting to hook together what I already knew and what I thought I knew and what I do know and what I need to know. And I'm starting to form some new patterns in my brain. And this is where I'm actively thinking. I'm sort of excited by thinking, and I've got some new things to think about. Yeah, that's it. I thought about it. That won't matter. Because here's the thing that has to happen if we want to change dementia care. Do this. Aha. Do this. Aha. You've got to do something different. You've got to master the skills of how to help someone. And that means you've got to step outside your box of comfort. So take your hand to the person next to you and offer it to them and shake hands. Yeah, but you're not done, because if you let go, you're back where you started. So you need to learn how to actually take a person's hand, work with that person so that they can do with you and you don't do to them. So that ultimately you become very, very skilled at this. And frankly, I've been doing this a long time. I'm pretty good at it. So I want you to do ta-da. Because in dementia care, if we don't become ta-da, in other words, competent to use the new skills with the knowledge and awareness that we build out there, nothing will change. And I'm committed to that level of change. That's why I do what I do. And so across this nation and across Canada, I've been traveling a lot, but we're trying to build a nation, and that's our job. So look at each other, and instead of pointing the finger out, look at your hand and say, I will change. Because it's going to be about us changing, not someone else. Thank you.